I'm pretty sure that in one of these previous episodes, I made the foolish statement that anyone who can take a Jeep apart can put it back together. What I forgot to do was qualify that statement with if you put it back together in a reasonable amount of time before you forget where the hell everything goes. So I found this part and have cleaned it up and got a coat of black paint on it. And I think it goes with this part that goes on the back of the bell housing, but I cannot figure out how the two made up. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch an old video and see where I took this off of and how exactly to get it back in the right spot. So that to do and more. I've been shopping. Give me a second, I'll come back and tell you all about what we've been spending money on to get this thing rolling along here. Okay, point taken. Those of you who've been saying I talk too much and I don't show enough my work, I just burned myself with that. I went back and rewatched episode 5, which is when I took the bell housing off the back of the old block. And by the time I turned the camera on at that point, I already had the work all done. And all these parts, this and this, were just laying on the ground. And I did not take a picture of how they go back together. So I kind of think I'm kind of close to how they go back together, but still a little ciphering to do to get that straight. I've only painted one side of it so far with just black primer and flat black all in one. Need to do the other side and may need some blue on there. So I'm gonna do that and then I'll come back. Before I start painting and put all my paint stuff on, I just thought I'd quickly tell you what I ordered today. So I did do my big round of what I think might be the last big shopping session. I've talked about the fuel injection. I had that Holley projection throttle body injection system. Never was all that happy with it, was constantly messing with it. When I pulled my plugs out, when I took the old engine apart, everything looked like it had always been running pretty rich. So, and that was kind of my sense, was it was always running on the rich side. It did not have an O2 sensor, so it was never really adjusting itself at all, and it had those little thumb knobs, so I was always diddling with it. So anyway, I ordered a new system. It's an Edelbrock complete system. Comes with a distributor, a manifold, fuel injection off rails that have injectors right at the intake ports. I'll link up the items down in the description. I got it all from Summit Racing. I talked to a guy there and got a fuel pump, a fuel regulator, filters that all will feed that system. And while I was in there, I ordered some new headers because my old headers were shot. I did do the ceramic coated ones or whatever, so hopefully these will last for the lifetime of the thing. And last but not least, I ordered some new valve covers. So I did some that are kind of ribbed on the top, and then in the center they say Jeep. I could get some that said Edelbrock or whatever, but it's a Jeep, so I got the Jeep ones. So that'll look pretty cool. So anyway, I'll put all the parts down there. Right now I'm gonna go change into my painting clothes and slap some black paint on this thing and get the other side of that thing cured up, and then go see if I can maybe look in my Jeep Bible and see if it shows where that plate goes. So I'll do a little painting and then we'll be back. Okay, well again, in the interest of doing things while it's easy to get at things, this is the bottom of our transmission, just to get you oriented here. Transfer case, bottom of it with its drain plug for the tranny. Anyway, this transmission is going to be facing forward, is that direction. Rear of the Jeep is going to be this direction. Here's where our rear drive shaft hooks up. This is my old energy suspensions bushing that I had there. It basically just bolted flat against this plate, and then my 2 bolts went through here into the cross member. This new plate, you remember we bought a whole new energy suspensions kit for the Jeep, and this new bushing is a little bit different in that it's got two humps on the top of it here, which are what they call, they're preloads. So this is a preload plate. So I guess what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount that like that. And they also specified that there's a flat edge of this and a rounded edge. And the rounded edge is supposed to be facing to the back of the vehicle. So I have this oriented in the right direction like this. I have both plates there, and we're just gonna stick a bolt through here, get it started into that mounting plate on the transmission itself. Okay, so let's just slap the bolt in over here real quick. Okay, there we have it. It's not tight yet, but it is on there. And then these new bolts that came with the thing are going to go here when we put this back on our cross member. Those will be the bolts that hook it together. There were some little instructions. I did read them, contrary to my popular habits of not reading stuff. But there we go. We'll tighten all that up. I'll pull these back out so they're not in the way when we hook this to the cross member. But there's our transmission bushing ready to go. And since we're all done painting, we can get this tightened up and call it good. All right, so I'm standing here looking at the frame rails and the engine mounts and looking at this big empty engine compartment spot. And what's significant about that is the spot where I'm standing, because not that long ago, there was a big box here that weighed almost 500 pounds that was full of that old, dead, greasy, oily, old motor, and that's now gone. So the trucking company did show up. The folks at S&J said, oh yeah, we're sure that the trucking company will call you first because they know it's a residential address. The guy called me. I was sitting at the office. He called and said, hey, I'm at your house. And I was like, hey, I'm at my office, so you're just gonna have to sit tight. And he was like, oh, no worries, I got all day. Don't you rush, it's all good. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird for a trucking company. Time is money, isn't it? So anyway, I jet home, we load the thing in, the guy drives off down the road, and I ran inside to grab a sandwich and ate some lunch real quick, came back out, got in the car, headed to the office, and drove out of the neighborhood down to the end of the street there and turned onto the next major street. There's my trucking guy sitting parked on the side of the road in front of an empty lot there, just kicked back in the chair, taking it easy. So obviously his schedule was pretty open that day, and he really didn't have anything else he had to do for the rest of the day. So anyway, but it feels good to have a little space to breathe in here and know that I can move the Jeep around again without having to try to struggle to move that box around. So I just ordered my twin stick levers for the transfer case. So hopefully that will get here about the same time as all the rest of the stuff for the block. And we'll button everything back up. I do want to put the twin stick on while the transfer case is out, sitting here on the table, so it's easy to work on. But then, yeah, we're ready to start bolting everything back together and get it in that spot between those frame rails. So I'll come back when we got some progress to make in that direction. All right, well, remember that little part that I wasn't 100% sure I knew where it went? I'm about 99% sure it's gonna show if you get under the Jeep. So I set it out and grabbed the blue paint and gave her a little shot of blue paint and set it aside and let it dry. All right, well, this is the stuff that came with the new motor from the guys at S&J. So we got this big box of gaskets, we got this little box of gaskets, and at first, I wasn't really sure what was in here, but when I do a little reading, this is our oil pump. So that'll have to go inside. There's our gasket, spring for wherever the spring's supposed to go. So that's what that is, according to the directions. That's our oil pump. So let's open these guys up and see what we got here, shall we? So obviously we know we've got most everything we need to button this up. Okay, so that guy right there, is that kind of pan that sits in the center on the top of the block. And these go on these end plates. I think I can kind of show you that. Valley pan type intake manifold gasket. So there's that thing with some aluminum silicone sealant. Go with it. Okay, so that's what that is. So get that out of the way for now. Oh yay, it's a jigsaw puzzle. All right. So obviously here's our oil pan gaskets. That goes on that one place, and that goes there, and that, and this guy, and exhaust manifold gaskets. Those are obviously gonna just snap apart there. There's how those will work. Two different sets of those. Valve cover gaskets, so cool because I did get new valve covers coming in. That's a press and seal, and I should know where that goes, but I don't right off the top of my head. These are water pump, obviously. So we're not going to want to lose any of these parts for sure. But there's all our gaskets to button this guy back up as we start to get the thing put back together. So this feels to be an O-ring. Yeah, a little brass ring. And I wonder if that's the same thing there. Little tiny guy, O-ring. So here would have been some place to put a little description on that, yeah, on the envelope. Tell us where exactly that goes. I guess the concept is if you don't know where all this stuff goes, you got no business ordering a short block, right? So anyway, there's our gasket set. So again, we're not going to want to lose any of that. So I'll probably button this back up and slap a coat of piece of tape on it, hold it shut. So again, I did order my valve cover gaskets. I got my oil pan ready to go back on there. I'm going to hunt down my oil pan bolts. There's about 20 of those or something like that, like 10 down each side of the oil pan. So I need to track those down. They're probably over here in my box of extra parts and get them all cleaned up, and then I'll be pulling some of these out and get ready to put that oil pan back on this thing. And I'm not going to rotate the motor to put that on because it's kind of oily on the top already, and I don't want to dump all that oil all over the place. So I'll just put the oil pan on with it on the stand the way it is right now, and then button the bottom end up from there. So that's what we got in all the cool boxes here. All of this, again, all of this came with our motor from S&J. So, you know, they do cover all the bases and do a good job, make sure you have everything you need. So once again, thumbs up to the guys at S&J.
All right, well, it turned out to be a really hectic week. Didn't quite get everything ready to go that I wanted to get done, and my shipment from Summit Racing didn't make it in. None of my parts got here yet, but I did get some stuff done to kind of further the process here. So before I wrap this for the week, let me just show you what I did. This is my flywheel. And before I took this into a machine shop here and had it resurfaced, at starting where the clutch plate spun on from the old clutch, there was you could hook your fingernail in the divot along there, and there was a gouge in here, or a worn section. So took this into a little machine shop here in town that had really good reviews on doing flywheels. And they were great. I mean, the guy, was like, hey, just bring it on down. I took it down there at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and he had it done by 3:30 the same afternoon. $55 to have the thing turned. So that's ready to go. So I'll be able to at least get some of the reassembly stuff started, but I am waiting on some more parts. So I'm gonna wrap this up for this week. And another one of my employees wound up with COVID, so my plans for this weekend got kind of all blown up, and I'm about done with that nonsense of these people who won't get vaccinated. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up for now and put it in the can, and then next time you see me, I think we'll be able to slide this block out in the middle of the room out here and start to assemble what we can assemble, and then just wait for parts to show up for the rest of it. We'll just get as far as we can get. So I'll do that next time you see me, but for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time around.